You know what it feels like when your own mother looks you dead in the eyes and tells you that you're not worth the same love as your sister? I do. Because while my sister Bianca got a brand new $130,000 Range Rover for Christmas, I got a keychain. A $3 keychain from a gas station. But what my mother didn't know was that her blatant favoritism was about to backfire in the most spectacular way possible. My name is Clara, I'm 27 years old, and this is the story of how I went from being the forgotten daughter to making my family realize exactly what they'd lost. But before I get into this, if you love stories about justice and standing up for yourself, smash that subscribe button and hit the bell so you don't miss what happens next. Trust me, you'll want to see how this ends. Let me take you back to understand how deep this favoritism really went. I grew up in Miami with my parents, my mom Paula and my dad John, and my younger sister Bianca. From the outside, we probably looked like the perfect family. My dad owned a successful real estate development company, and we lived in a beautiful house in Coral Gables. But inside those walls, there was a clear hierarchy, and I was always at the bottom. Bianca was the golden child. Always had been. She was 3 years younger than me, and from the moment she was born, the sun rose and set with her. She was the pretty one, the charming one, the one who could do no wrong. And me? I was just there. Let me give you some examples so you understand this isn't just sibling jealousy talking. When Bianca was 16, she crashed my dad's Mercedes while texting and driving. The car was totaled. You know what happened? Dad bought her a brand new BMW the next week and told her everyone makes mistakes, sweetie. When I was 17, I accidentally scratched the paint on my mom's car while parking. I had to pay for the repairs myself with money from my part-time job at a coffee shop, and I wasn't allowed to drive any family car for 6 months. For Bianca's high school graduation, they threw her a massive party at a yacht club with over 200 guests. For mine, we went to Olive Garden. Just the 4 of us. And my dad spent half the dinner on his phone. When it came time for college, Bianca wanted to go to a private university in California to study fashion design. Tuition was $65,000 a year. No problem. They paid for everything, plus a luxury apartment off campus and a generous monthly allowance. When I wanted to study architecture at the University of Miami, they told me that state schools were perfectly fine and that I should be grateful they were covering tuition. I had to work 20 hours a week just to afford rent and basic expenses. You see the pattern? The worst part wasn't even the money or the gifts. It was the emotional favoritism. My mom would light up when Bianca walked into a room. She'd ask her about her day, her friends, her dreams. With me, conversations were transactional. How's work? Fine. Okay, well, dinner's at 7. I tried for years to win their approval. I graduated summa cum laude. I got a great job at an architecture firm. I never asked them for money. I was responsible, independent, and successful. But none of it mattered. Bianca could post an Instagram story and my mom would be in the comments like, "My beautiful princess." Meanwhile, I'd share news about winning a design award and I'd get a text that said nice. So that brings us to last Christmas. December 2024. Bianca had recently dropped out of her 3rd university. This time it was FIT in New York, because she didn't vibe with the energy there. She'd moved back home and spent most of her days shopping online and posting on TikTok. She was 24 years old with no degree, no job, and no apparent plans for the future. I, on the other hand, had just been promoted to senior designer at my firm. I was finally making good money and had just closed on my first condo, which I bought entirely by myself, thank you very much. Christmas morning, we all gathered in the living room like we did every year. The tree was massive, professionally decorated with those expensive ornaments my mom ordered from some boutique in New York. Under it were beautifully wrapped presents, most of them clearly for Bianca based on the sheer volume. My dad was grinning like he had the world's best secret. "Okay, Bianca, sweetie, why don't you open your big present first?" He led her out to the driveway, and we all followed. Sitting there with a giant red bow on top was a brand new Range Rover Autobiography. Jet black. The model that starts at $130,000. Bianca literally screamed. She started jumping up and down, crying happy tears, hugging my parents. My mom was crying too, saying, "You deserve it, baby. You deserve the world." For what? For existing? They spent 20 minutes out there taking photos, with Bianca sitting in the driver's seat, posing like she was in a music video. My dad was already on his phone, probably posting about it on Facebook. Finally, we came back inside. My stomach was in knots, but there was still a small, pathetic part of me that hoped maybe this year would be different. Maybe there was something special for me too. My mom handed me a small box. Gift bag size. I opened it. Inside was a keychain. A simple metal keychain with a little charm that said "Dream Big" on it. The kind you find in the impulse buy section at a gas station. I stared at it. Then I looked at my mom. She smiled. "I saw it and thought of you. You're always working so hard on your career." My dad didn't even look up from his phone. Bianca was already back outside, taking selfies with her Range Rover. I felt something inside me crack. Not break, crack. Like when you put pressure on ice and you can hear it fracturing before it gives way completely. "Is this a joke?" I asked quietly. My mom's smile faltered. "What?" "No, I thought it was cute. She got a $130,000 car and you got me a keychain from a gas station." "Clara, don't be dramatic. It's not a competition." That's when I laughed. Actually laughed. "You're right, Mom. It's not a competition." Because that would imply I was ever actually in the running. My dad finally looked up. "Watch your tone." "Or what, Dad? You'll give Bianca another car?" My mom's face hardened. "You know what your problem is, Clara? You've always been jealous. Bianca appreciates what we do for her. She's grateful. You just always want more." I stood up. My hands were shaking. "I have never asked you for anything. Not once since I graduated college. I put myself through school while working. I bought my own car. I just bought my own condo. And you're telling me I want more? All I've ever wanted was for you to love me even half as much as you love her." Guys, if you're feeling this right now, hit that like button and drop a comment telling me if you've ever felt invisible in your own family. Let's support each other because I'm about to tell you how this story takes a turn. My mom stood up, and her face was red. "How dare you? After everything we've done for you. We paid for your college. State school tuition while you sent her to private universities she kept dropping out of. We gave you a roof over your head for 18 years. That's called being a parent, Mom. That's literally the bare minimum." My dad stood up too. "That's enough. You're being disrespectful. I'm being honest. And you can't handle it because you've never had to face what terrible parents you've been to me." My mom's voice went ice cold. "Get out." "What?" "Get out of this house. If we're such terrible parents, if you're so unappreciated, then leave." I looked at my dad. He wouldn't meet my eyes. So I did. I left. On Christmas Day. I drove back to my condo in tears, and I didn't talk to any of them for weeks. For the next month, silence. They didn't call to apologize. They didn't text to check on me. Nothing. In mid-January, my best friend since college, Danny, came over. He's a corporate lawyer, and we were having wine and venting about life when I told him the whole story. He was furious. "Clara, that's insane. They've been financially discriminating against you your whole life." "I know, but what can I do? They can spend their money how they want." Actually. He got this look on his face. "Do you remember that trust fund your grandmother set up?" I froze. "What?" "Your dad's mom. Your grandmother Lockwood. She died when you were, what, 13? Yeah. I remember at her funeral, someone mentioned she'd set up college funds for you and Bianca. Did you ever see any paperwork about that?" I hadn't thought about my grandmother in years. She'd been kind to me, one of the few family members who'd treated Bianca and me equally. No, I never saw anything. My dad said she left some money but that it went into family accounts. Danny pulled out his laptop. "Your grandmother was wealthy, right? Like, seriously wealthy? She had family money, yeah. Old money from the Northeast. Clara, if she set up a trust fund for you, your parents would have been legally obligated to use it for your benefit, especially for education. Do you have any documentation?" I didn't. But Danny made some calls to colleagues who specialized in estate law. Within a week, he tracked down the attorney who'd handled my grandmother's estate. What we discovered made my blood run cold. My grandmother had left each of her granddaughters, me and Bianca, a trust fund of $500,000. The money was specifically designated for education, first home purchase, and general welfare until we turned 30. $500,000 each. The trustee was my father. He'd had complete control over how the money was distributed, as long as it was used for our benefit. I requested all the financial records through Danny's law firm. When they arrived, I spent an entire weekend going through them with Danny. Here's what my dad had done. For Bianca. All private school tuition from kindergarten through high school, $180,000. For different universities, she'd actually dropped out of 4, not 3, $260,000. The luxury apartment in California, $72,000 over 3 years. Monthly allowances, $48,000 over 4 years. Total, $560,000. Wait. That's more than her trust fund, right? Where did the extra $60,000 come from? From MY Trust Fund. For Clara. State University tuition, $24,000. They'd made me think they were being generous. That's it. That's literally it. Total, $24,000 out of my $500,000 trust. The remaining $476,000 of MY money? My father had used $60,000 to cover Bianca's expenses beyond her trust fund. The rest, $416,000, he'd invested in his real estate company. There was more. Those family accounts he'd mentioned? He'd been using my trust fund as essentially an interest-free loan to himself. The money was still technically there in investments, but he'd been using it for his business while giving me nothing. I sat there staring at these documents, and I felt like I was going to be sick. Is this legal? I asked Danny. His jaw was tight. Absolutely not. This is trust fund misappropriation. He was legally obligated to use that money for your benefit. Using it for business investments? Using it to cover Bianca's overage? That's a serious breach of fiduciary duty. What can I do? You can sue him. And you'd win. I didn't want to sue my father. Despite everything, some part of me still hoped we could be a family. So I called him. Asked to meet. He suggested lunch at this expensive restaurant in downtown Miami, the kind of place where entrees start at $50. I brought copies of all the trust fund documents. My dad showed up in a good mood, like nothing had happened at Christmas. Clara. Good to see you, honey. I'm glad you called. Your mother and I were hoping you'd come around. Come around? You know, apologize for how you spoke to us. It was Christmas, emotions were high. We're willing to forgive you. I slid the folder across the table. He opened it, and I watched his face change as he realized what he was looking at. Where did you get these? Grandma Lockwood's estate attorney. That's my trust fund, Dad. The one you've been stealing from for the past 14 years. His face went red, then pale. Stealing? Clara, I'm the trustee. I've been managing that money responsibly. You used my college fund to pay for Bianca's fourth failed attempt at getting a degree. You took $60,000 of MY money to cover her expenses. You invested the rest in your company instead of using it for my education, my first home, my welfare, you know, all the things Grandma specified in her will. I was going to pay you back. When? I'm 27. I'm almost aged out of the trust anyway. Dad, I worked 20 hours a week in college while you and Mom made me think you were being generous paying for state school. I saved for years to buy my condo. And the whole time, I had $500,000 that you were keeping from me. People at nearby tables were starting to stare. Lower your voice, he hissed. Why? Embarrassed? You should be. You want to know the worst part? It wasn't even about the money. If you just loved me like you love Bianca, I would have gotten over all of it. But you couldn't even do that. That's not fair. You gave her a $130,000 Range Rover for Christmas and gave me a keychain. A $3 keychain. And when I called you out on it, you kicked me out of your house on Christmas Day. He leaned forward. What do you want, Clara? I want what's mine. Every penny of that trust fund, plus interest, plus compensation for what you've cost me over the years. And I want it in writing that this is settled, because if you don't agree, my attorney is ready to file a lawsuit that will drag every bit of this into public record. How do you think your real estate clients will feel knowing you stole from your own daughter? My dad tried to negotiate. He tried to guilt me. He even tried to get my mom to call me crying, begging me not to destroy the family. But Danny had done the math. With interest and projected returns over 14 years, my trust fund should have grown to approximately $680,000. Add in damages for educational expenses I'd covered myself, rent I paid when I could have lived on trust funds, opportunity costs, we were looking at close to $850,000 that I was owed. My dad's business was successful, but he didn't have that kind of liquid cash. He'd have to sell assets or take out loans. In the end, we settled out of court. Here's what I got. 1. $750,000 paid immediately. This covered the trust fund, interest, and some damages. 2. A written apology acknowledging his misappropriation of the trust. 3. He had to tell Bianca where the money for her lifestyle had actually come from. The money hit my account on a Tuesday in February. Bianca called me 3 days after my dad told her the truth. Clara? It's me. Hey, Bianca. Dad told me about Grandma's trust funds. About how he used your money. I didn't know, she said, and her voice cracked. I swear to God, Clara, I didn't know. I thought they were just. I don't know. I never thought about where the money came from. I just thought they had it. I know you didn't know. I'm so sorry. The way they treated you, the way they treated us differently. I noticed, but I didn't. I should have said something. I should have stuck up for you. Bianca. No, let me finish. I've been thinking about everything. Every birthday, every Christmas, every time they made excuses for me and criticized you. You deserved better. You deserved so much better. I felt tears coming. Thank you for saying that. Are you going to forgive them? Mom keeps crying, and Dad's been in a terrible mood. Honestly? I don't know. Maybe someday. But not now. I understand. And Clara? I'm returning the Range Rover. What? I can't keep it. Knowing that money could have gone to you, should have gone to you. I can't drive it without feeling sick. I already told Dad I'm giving it back. I'm going to get a job. A real job. I'm going to actually do something with my life instead of being a spoiled trust fund kid. Well, except I wasn't even the trust fund kid. You were. I was just the kid whose parents stole from her sister. Now, before I tell you where things stand today, if this story resonated with you, please subscribe to this channel. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that standing up for yourself is worth it. Drop a comment telling me your story. I read every single one. Okay, so here's where we are now, 3 months later. I used part of the settlement money to pay off my condo completely. I'm 27 and I own my home outright. The rest is invested wisely. Danny connected me with a great financial advisor. I started my own architecture firm. Small for now, just me and 2 junior designers, but we're already landing clients. Turns out, when you're not emotionally drained from being treated like you're worthless, you have a lot of energy for building something amazing. Bianca did get a job. She's working as a junior stylist at a fashion boutique. She sold the Range Rover and bought herself a used Honda. We've been talking more. Rebuilding our relationship slowly. She's in therapy now, working through her own issues with our parents' favoritism and how it affected her. My parents? We're in what I'd call cordial estrangement. We text occasionally. Surface-level stuff. They invited me to Easter dinner next month, and I haven't decided if I'm going. My mom sent me a long email a few weeks ago. It was mostly defensive, but buried in there was something that might have been the beginning of accountability. She said, I'm trying to understand where I went wrong. It's not an apology. Not really. But it's more than I've ever gotten before. My dad is stiff and formal when we talk. I think he's deeply ashamed but doesn't know how to express it. The lawsuit threat scared him more than he wants to admit. Here's what I learned from all of this. Your family doesn't get a free pass to treat you badly just because you're related. Love isn't supposed to be conditional or rationed. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is walk away and build your own life, one where you're valued. That $3 keychain? I kept it. It sits on my desk in my home office. Not as a reminder of what they didn't give me, but as a reminder of the moment I decided I was worth more. I'm not the forgotten daughter anymore. I'm Clara. I'm 27. I'm a business owner. I'm a homeowner. And I'm finally free. And that's worth more than any Range Rover. If you made it this far, thank you for listening to my story. Remember, you are not asking for too much when you ask to be loved. You are not being dramatic when you call out mistreatment. And you are not obligated to set yourself on fire to keep people warm, even if those people are family. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and I'll see you in the next video where I'll be sharing the messages I've gotten from others who've dealt with family favoritism and how they found their way through it. You're not alone. And your story matters. I'm Clara, and this is my story.